Hey, good welcome, because good evening, good morning, good whatever to all of you, because you're coming from lots of different geographies. People from Asia, from South Africa, from South America, Europe. We should be starting in just 2-3 minutes to let the latest participants to join. And in the meantime, let me welcome you warmly. This should be a short webinar. It shouldn't last too long, a maximum of 75 minutes, but if shorter, it'll be better. Straight to the point. Don't hesitate to ask your questions in the chat section. If you're not used to it, on the bottom of your screen, you should see a Q&R kind of icon. Click on it and ask your questions or your different contributions. And this is it. So why don't I start? "30 more seconds and we'll start, okay? Okay, here we are now. Welcome again to everybody. We are about 120 members in this digital transformation community, and you are from 45 different countries. This is amazing. This was launched in the middle of the vacations in Europe, the summer holidays, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. And since now most of the people are coming back to work, I'm receiving a lot of registrations these past 2 days. So at the end of the day, we will be more than 150 or even more. Of excellent quality as well, because most of you are really deeply involved in digital transformation. And this is what we are looking for. So I'm just reminding you that this community is open to all responsibilities in digital banking, digital transformation, digital insurance as well. Only bankers and insurers are welcome. We have no consultancies, we have no providers, whoever, apart from our partner, BCG. We have launched this community in partnership with BCG. BCG is a long-standing associate member of Efma. We have worked together for the past few years in order to at least do a certain number of things, but at least the digital transformation observatory that we have done for several years. And Philippe Toussaint will present you the results of the previous observatories that we've done. And we will have a series of short presentations from a couple of speakers from different geographies. These are meant to let you know that we, first of all, are very diverse in terms of geographical origins, but as well in terms of ways of addressing digital transformation. So this community is about delivering you content and facilitating networking. When I'm saying delivering content, it means that we will provide you with observatories, but studies as well, reports, case studies, interviews, news, whatever. And networking, well, it's the possibility for each of you to connect with any other member of the community in order to exchange experiences and ask questions. So whenever you want to get in touch with somebody, just let us know and we will arrange the meeting together. So rest assured that this community will be very lively and active. There will be, as I said, a succession of short speeches today in order to not take too much of your time. And as you can see from the screen right now, we are browsing our dedicated website where everything should be found, including the list of members, the upcoming events. Four of the events are scheduled already. And by clicking on the first one, you will see the agenda, the list of speakers, etc. So anytime you need something, please go on this website and ask questions to patrick@efma.com, if any. Now it's my pleasure to welcome Łukasz Juroska, who at Efma is in charge of the different communities, because this digital transformation community is just one of the different communities we are launching. And I would like Łukasz to tell us a little bit more about these communities. Łukasz, floor is yours.
Patrick, thank you so much for the introduction. Obviously, it's not my intention to spend so much time to giving you information about what we want to do, but our main goal is to show you what the communities are and how they are going to work. How it all started was basically that Efma was here always for the community of bankers, but we never had a structural approach in terms of the connection between events, content, studies, member-to-member connections, and all the services that Efma could provide to its members. So we decided last year in SME banking that we would give it a try and create a standalone dedicated place for all heads of SME banking globally, and created the very first one, SME banking community, with our partner at that time, Mastercard. In the meantime, it has proved within the first year of existence, even during the COVID era, that it was the place to go for many of the SME bankers globally to be part of the SME community. And within the first year of frequent online events that we organized to basically answer all the key pain points and issues that bankers were facing, to bring on board the best practices from bankers around the world, and on top of it, to create possibilities for one-to-one connection between selected institutions to go in depth for those discussions, was a huge success within the first year of existence of SME. So we decided this year that it's time to replicate the concept and introduce it to all the other community members of Efma, and to create further communities around other topics. And we started in July with Future Innovation, because obviously, for many years we are hosting already our Banking Innovation Awards, which gives us already a place to start with, and a wonderful community of bankers who published and submitted their stories into Efma. So this is the third one. This is the digital transformation community, and we are very pleased to have all of you for this very first opening meeting. Patrick is your lead. He's your face, and he's the face of the community. You may know him because he used to be a long-term leader and CEO of Efma, and obviously still leader for many of us. So we are very happy to have him for the community. And please stay tuned, because this is just the start. And very soon we'll introduce insurance as a separate community as well. And the next one will be one of the cool and trendy topics which many of the bankers are right now trying to solve, around sustainability and regulation. So we believe that communities are the future of bankers. We believe that we want to create one place for all the bankers to find insights, best practices, information, and place for networking for all of you when you want to get in touch with the peers that are facing the same issues as you are. Because you do not have to be in the same geographies. You do not have to meet in person as it was in the past at Efma conferences or any others. But you can stay in touch on a daily basis with your peers around the world. Because believe or not, the wheel was already invented, and it's time probably to find a way on how you can take it to your market and give it to your customers. So this is the whole philosophy of community, and we believe and we hope that you will like the concept of connection between events that we organize on a regular basis online, always serving the best topic, content and insights that goes far beyond the studies and reports that we usually had with interview series right now, media content, podcasts, videos that we'll be publishing, and a lot more, and all the way to the members connection, which will be a place for many of you to get the things done, because there will be obviously a members chat and a possibility for further member-to-member connections and discussion in depth. And that's it, probably, from my side. That's the vision where we want to take you, where we want to take Efma. So Patrick, back to you.
Thank you very much, Lucas. When you said bankers, it's of course bankers and insurers. Huh? Both are much welcome. And very sorry, I forgot simply to introduce myself. I actually was the CEO of Efma for more than a decade, but I retired about 6 years ago. And during this lockdown, I didn't have anything else to do but come back at work. So I'm very pleased to be together with my friends at Efma again, helping them with a couple of projects, including this one. Now, maybe Philippe Soussan will introduce himself. He's Managing Director and Partner of BCG. Philippe is helping us with this Digital Transformation Observatory. The floor is yours, Philippe.
Thank you, Patrick, and thank you, Lucas, because I really think that this kind of very high quality community that you're creating here is an excellent initiative, and BCG is very proud to be your partner again this year for the digital transformation part of it. I'll try to explain to you what we'll do with the Digital Transformation Observatory, which is something that we've conducted for years now. And I will also try to give you the current state of art globally on the market and on this topic, but in a very short time frame. Just to introduce myself, if you go to the next slide, we're two people working very closely with Efma, myself and Muriel. Muriel is following the partnership for years now. And on my side, I've been at BCG for more than 16 years now, and focusing mainly on retail banking and on these topics of digital transformation for a lot of years now. If you go to the next page, for 5 editions already, we have conducted the survey of Digital Observatory together between BCG and Efma. We surveyed bank executives and all Efma members with a very specific and deep survey for which you will see there will be a lot of very interesting results. And when we do the transcription of those and when we share these results, we also inject a lot of BCG proprietary data, case studies, and everything that comes from our client work. So we'll also include that and share it with you, because they often both resonate a lot together. If you go on the next slide. So I was saying, we've been a partner for many years now of this Digital Transformation Observatory, and we wanted with Muriel to share very briefly what we learned over the years, because the history is very interesting and how this has evolved over time, because it will also introduce the way we will conduct the survey this year. When we started back 5 years ago in 2016, we saw that digital was really booming at all banks, and the portfolio of digital initiatives was patchy but growing everywhere, in sometimes not very structured way, because digital initiatives were in a lot of departments within retail banks and insurers. But at that time, we didn't see real impact in the way the banking or insurance business was run. It was more, a limited side effect. In 2016, we saw a very big push on everything that was around customer journeys. It was the big push around reinventing customer journeys, doing design thinking, etc., at all banks and insurers. And this came with a risk of creating two different banks, one which would be the legacy brick and mortar advisor type, and on the side, the digital bank with very limited interaction. And we saw at that time that a lot of client customer journeys were in fact hybrid, meaning that clients did back and forth between some digital channels and some and some bricks and mortar. And in the end, for the client, it's exactly the same if he wants to go from point A to point B. In 2018, when we did the observatory, we started to see some tangible impact on P&L of digital initiatives, and we also see the start of what has become over time what we call personalization. So personalization is really making sure that when there is a client interaction, it's personalized in terms of offer, message, channel, and also taking into account the depth of the past relationship with the client. In 2019, we saw raising level of ambition of all digital plans. You know, when we looked at all the strategic plans and what the banks explained to the market. And we saw a lot of things where they said we need also to be very relevant at scale and not on a very small number of initiatives. So starting also to grow the pie. 2020, I think you all saw that in your respective institutions. COVID has modified a lot of things, has also accelerated some trajectories that we anticipated because it has triggered significant changes in customer behaviors. In a lot of markets, reduction in the share of usage of branches, and we estimate at BCG that there is approximately 20% globally of retail banks customer base who never used distant channels. When I think about distant channels, I think web, mobile, plus also the contact centers. And that became frequent users of this due to COVID and the consecutive lockdowns. Digital programs have accelerated a lot in 2020 with a big imperative to reduce costs and improve revenue linked to digital sales. And today, more than ever, we saw that bionic, meaning hybrid, making sure that digital channels are very much articulated with the human touch, with the human factor, is a key differentiator in distribution. So this is really the way digital transformation in retail banks, but very similar to what insurers have experienced, has evolved over time. Now I'll talk a little bit about prospective and what we'll do, but just if you go to the next page, before doing that, we started, if you have the next one, before launching the Efma study, we started to do what BCG called the customer survey to thousands of clients across the globe. So if you go to the next one. And we start with the first results of that study. And first, yes, I'll answer to the question, but yes, the previous BCG presentations are available on the community website and those of the past years as well. So this year, we also asked the clients how they felt their bank was today and what they wanted it to be in the future. And you see that a lot of them, of course, 1/3 of them see it first and foremost as a safeguard, a vault to keep the money safe. But what they really want today is to see a shift and see their bank turn into what I would call the companion, an advisor. We call it here a good friend that can give honest advice on the financial situation. So taking into account my life project, when I need some money, how I need to save, how I will manage my liabilities in the future, and making sure that based on that, without any conflict of interest, this institution can provide the best advice to enable me optimize my financial situation over time. And the second one so this is the 31% that you see on the right. And if you see the bottom, also a big increase in someone that helps me be more educated on financial matters. You know, so the image here is school, but we see a lot of a really big trend on how banks can help me be better and better understand how I can improve my financial situation over time, and also started very early with younger generation. And we all know that we have a big challenge in helping younger generations to anticipate far more than what we have done, or even than what our parents have done, in particular because of the big retirement pension issues that will come in the coming years. But that's something that we see a lot also in customers' minds. If you go to the next page, a very short teaser on what we see in 2021. Digital is, of course, a very big opportunity for incumbent banks because it can help them deepen their relationships with their customers because of what we just said, but also because after COVID, we saw that customers had a real increase in their trust towards their bank, and in particular, the banks have been some of the winner of trust, you know, across sectors. When we looked at consumer surveys, NPS and like pools, and we also see that customers believe that banks are trustworthy regarding to the use of their personal data. The second piece is that investment in digital is really paying off because the increase in the use of distant channel has been very significant in the past 18 months. And all the banks that have anticipated that wave and that made sure that their advisors were able not only to use digital for transaction, but also use it for the whole breadth of a relationship. And in the breadth of a relationship, there are transactions, but also sales, but also advice, etc. And for all of those, for all the actors who were in advance on those topics and who helped their errand to be stronger on distant and the management of distant relationships, it really paid off during the crisis. And the third piece that you see on the right is we need to ensure that we increase the shift on the perception of human channels, because sometimes they can be seen today on as a kind of last resort channel, whereas they should be far more viewed as value-added services where clients need very complex advice, or when they need to be supported in complex journeys, the human touch can make a real difference. If you go to the next page, and it's the last one, just to talk to you about the future. So we launched very shortly the survey towards Efma members, and we expect to be presenting the results at the next event at the beginning of October. So very much willing to engage with you and to discuss with you through the community on this topic, and to see the results very soon of what all of you will have responded to the survey that we'll be conducting in a few weeks. Thank you, Patrick. Back to you.
Yes, okay, I was on mute. Thank you very much, Philippe. Indeed, I just would like to mention that, first of all, this presentation, of course, will be made available on our website, but you will also have access to the different BCG presentations of the prior observatories that we have launched. So each year there has been quite an in-depth presentation that was delivered, and all these presentations will be made available on our website. So now it's my pleasure to welcome Saurabh Batra. Saurabh Batra is speaking from Singapore. He is the deal lead group partnerships from Standard Chartered Bank. Maybe Saurabh, you could start by explaining us what deal lead group partnerships mean, and then the floor will be yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Patrick. Thanks, Efma, for having me here today. I think, Philippe, it's a fantastic initiative which BCG is launching, and And I really feel it's a great opportunity for us to connect with so many people who are passionate about digital transformation. I just hope we had it sooner, right? Uh, Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon from wherever you are joining us today. I hear people are from 40 different countries who are part of this community. As Patrick shared, I am currently the deal lead for ecosystem partnerships. And let me explain that a bit. I've recently moved into this role around a month back, and as a bank, we am part of Standard Chartered, and we are really looking at our strategy is to really grow and expand in the mass market. And one of the key areas we have identified is how do we partner with ecosystem players and really make that happen. So my role is pretty much now end to end working with partners from the proposition and taking it live to our customers. So that's my current role. And in case you're wondering what am I doing in a digital transformation, why Patrick has invited me to speak today, as of last month and for a good part of the last 2 years, my role was as the enterprise agile design lead for Standard Chartered. I've prior to that, I've extensive experience firsthand in running large digital transformation programs like open banking for Hong Kong and Singapore, for those who are aware, and really around some really interesting, challenging programs like real-time client onboarding as well. So today, I actually just wanted to share my approach to digital transformation and specifically how I think it really helped us to break down silos which exist in most organizations. A bit about Standard Chartered, in case many of you may not be aware. We are a fairly large bank. We are one of the largest retail banks today. We have presence in 28 markets, and our focus is in the growing markets, developing markets in Asia, Africa, and Middle East. The retail banking group is quite large and complex. We have 33,000 employees just working in the consumer private business banking division, and we have a fair share of having group, regional, and country layers. So as a bank, we've been several years into digital transformation now, and the good part of being several years into it is we have more than our fair share of successes and failures, right? And what the failures really taught us is that while technology can be a very powerful enabler for us to respond to the ever evolving customer needs, the real transformation outcome is very difficult to achieve if the organization is not designed to take quick decisions and doesn't have a culture which really supports and accepts change. So with that in mind, I think one of the biggest problem we sought out to solve around 2 years back was the feedback we were getting from people on ground was that while we've implemented agile in technology and in our digital teams, overall the bank still operated in silos, and often projects, right, you would have would overrun or delays. So we really felt we had to solve this problem, and to really accelerate our digital transformation journey, we pivoted to what we called, and what the industry now calls widely, is called enterprise agility. Enterprise agility for us is a combination of 5 to 6 key things, and I would like to spend a couple of minutes on that just to share our learning. So one of the key requirements in the enterprise agility is one, you really reorganize the entire organization. You don't just pick up one function like technology and a product owner and a scrum master, and you just say we've gone agile. You really look at the entire the group, region, country, first line, second line, and how do you really build cross-functional teams which are very empowered to take decisions, and more importantly, I think it's to be part of decision making and a problem solving process. Essentially, this involves taking a 30,000 organization. In case of Stanchart, we started small. We looked at around 1,000 to 2,000 odd people, And we said, how do we really build cross-functional squads, which is essentially a group of, a squad is a combination of 8 to 10 people from with different expertise. These could be from second line functions like risk compliance to a technology developer to an architect to a copywriter as well, right? So we've never built squads which have such a rich cross-functional team culture. And once you do that and you really start pivoting your organization towards some big roles, you actually come out with a collection of squads and you formulate tribes. So a tribe would be solving one big area or a problem for the bank or a big opportunity for the bank, or could be like onboarding, could be like digital marketing. That is quite fluid in the structure. So you organize the team towards solving big problems. And what you essentially end up with is you realize that you don't, you can really delayer the organization. There is a lot of slack in the system. And through that, you can really simplify and expedite the decision-making process. The other thing which Enterprise Agile really helped us to do is no longer Agile is really about is about just software development. You're really taking the key elements of Agile, working together, collaboration, and you ask your country teams, how can you run your cards business better? How can you roll out a new product which we believe the market needs, right? So you use it for build as well as run. Overall, I think it delivers a much more simplified delivery cadence. And because of the entire pivot of the organization, I think there is an entire bias towards getting things done. And last but not most importantly is because everybody has a defined role in the organization. They are part of certain squads. They know what they are really striving to. What it really helps is it really drives transparency in the system, transparency in where the resources are allocated, because no longer can people just hide behind emails and spend months. You are part of a very active, agile, living system in an organization. So this is a very exciting but a very challenging journey, because it touches every facet of the organization. Because the minute you go enterprise wide, it goes way beyond technology and development and geographies. And we actually went through this journey through the peak of COVID last year, and we had a big question in our mind: is it the right time to do it? Thankfully, we did, because I think there was no better time. We are still in COVID even after 18 to 24 months. And I'm glad we took that call, that we really wanted to take that step forward. So,
well, thank you.
Thanks, Patrick.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much, Saurabh. Very quick one. You spoke about agility, flexibility, fluidity, collaboration, etc. All fine. But what about framework, objectives, constraints, KPIs?
Absolutely. So as I said, there are a lot of facets to the enterprise agile. When you formulate the squads and you formulate the tribes, you start with what is the overall objective the organization is trying to achieve. Those gets broken down into what are the tribe priorities and objectives, what we call objectives and key results, OKRs. And that helps form the framework in terms of what all the squads are prioritizing. How do you break down that entire objective into framework? So there is a lot of work, Patrick, which happens around that. You also have to look at how does your budgeting cycle work. You cannot keep running in the old ways of working where every quarterly you meet and you decide what projects and what is the status. You have to be more nimble. Your entire budgeting process cannot be, I'm approving something for the next 12 months and don't come back to me. So a lot of frameworks have to be built around how do you evaluate people, how do you run projects, and how do you really bring all this together, right, and achieve an objective.
Thank you very much, Saurabh. And I'd like maybe to switch from Standard Chartered Bank to Standard Bank, quite the same name, but Rod Poole, Chief Change and Business Transformation Officer of Standard Bank in South Africa, is now going to present. Rod, floor is yours.
Oh, thank you. And thanks for the opportunity to do so. And just listening, I just want to say, I think what an exciting time for financial service businesses. And I think although the pandemic's been something that we've not experienced, I think it's given banks and life companies and insurance houses, etc., enormous opportunity to be different and reinvent themselves. So I work for the Standard Bank South Africa. We're in 20 countries, and then in South America, North America, Europe, Asia, etc. And I look after the group strategy for the group in terms of what we call Future Ready. And our Future Ready strategy is to look at the organization transforming one into a digital organization, then to platform, and then to ecosystems and strategic partnerships. And that journey commenced probably 3-4 years ago for us. I come out of wholesale banking, corporate investment banking, where I looked after the strategy there. But we spent enormous amount of time with Facebook, Amazon, WhatsApp, etc. And I think learning about how big tech works, how innovation works, and then look back and together with, I'm also the sponsor for the financial institution sector in our corporate investment bank. So have worked with a number of banks that are on the call today in that role, but sharing our strategies. And I think it became very clear for us that we wouldn't exist or be able to compete if we stayed the same. So we accelerated our strategy to be a platform business in May last year with our board and our regulator in terms of starting this transformation, which we started and we've been going just over a year. But as I said, there were 2 or 3 years working with MIT and various big tech companies and financial institutions about creating clarity. So our clarity is that our financial services business will transform into a platform. And then our group, was renamed as the Standard Bank Group, will transform into a platform business, which gives us the opportunity to expand into other areas like healthcare, transportation, education, retail, travel, etc., to complete the value chains of the institution. So it's a bank which is transforming, and then, as I say, we have a group which is transforming too. And so I've had to spend many hours and times with various of our teams, plus our regulators, plus our boards across the world, and then even some of the financial institution boards today around this change, etc., so that we get clarity and understanding of what this future readiness means. And I think the storytelling of it is very important, and we talk about it being a mall, where presently the Standard Bank is in the mall, and our shift is to owning the mall. We won't only be present in our platform, but we'll have other providers and service providers that complement the financial services business, but we'll also have value industries for our clients that perhaps are standalone, but are complementary to some of the services that either our partners provide or that we provide. So I think for bankers to shift out of this kind of banking world and think of ourselves as something completely different is kind of one of the challenges. And you asked the question of how do we, work across our 20 geographies and plus our international offices. And so, as I said, it doesn't come without doing immense amount of engagement with teams and boards and regulators across all these geographies, sharing with them our purpose, Africa's our home, we drive a growth. And that's another process that I drove probably 4 years ago. For the group, and we engaged with all our teams in terms of coming up with why we existed. And I think that purpose is still something we use and connect to in terms of how we can make a difference on the African continent for our clients and for our people and for the economies themselves. And the second part of that was creating an architecture. Now, this was all done at a group level across the organization. And in our architecture, not our digital architecture, our operating architecture, which was structure, ways of working, looking at how a country, how a group, a country, a client segment, etc., all engage, and looking at the decision rights that each of those had, and then looking at the toolboxes and standards that we wanted to invest in the company in terms of what standards, what was the take, and what was the shape for the various countries and the segments, so that we could start to get alignment. We've used the MIT model of the 4 quadrants of looking at, are we in the omni-channel quadrant, the ecosystem quadrant, or the modular producer quadrant? And really what you're trying to get yourself is out the spaghetti juncture of what financial services are at the moment, and either going up into the omni-channel or across into the ecosystem, or playing in the modular field. And I think we all exist in all of them. But it's creating the clarity for our organization across all our geographies using one model. from the MIT side. And then in terms of the toolboxes and the standards, that it's not a case of where do we develop these, we have to develop them in the country, South Africa. We can develop them anywhere where the expertise is, but then they go into a toolbox and then they are the standards. So if you're building a platform or you're building an API or whatever you're doing, there's a toolbox which gives you the guidance so that we are conscious that all geographies are doing it the same. And Oliver Wyman and various partners, they are our partners across our geographies. So we insist with all the countries that they use the partners we as the group have used so that we have consistency across the group. So MIT is a partner, Oliver Wyman's a partner, BCG is a partner, etc., and all bring different skills. It's like a feature team that collaborate around our strategy. And then that architecture that I've just gone through in terms of the decision rights and the capabilities, etc., started with our board, our exco, and then cascaded into the various parts of the organization down to corporate functions. Then the third part I'll just quick to was the execution of the strategy. So we defined the strategy, shared the strategy. We've just been to our investors. We had an investor day on Friday where we shared the strategy of the group in terms of our future readiness and what we're going to focus on. In that construct, we have got a transformation office which works under me, and we have looked and worked in work streams across the organization, and we have members from various parts, countries, and segments that look at the client experience, the physical, digital, the financial constructs that we need to support future ready, what we call a cube, so that we can combine all the different, so we can start getting out of the silos and start sharing revenue, etc., that we can look across the business and get our P&Ls and our income statements to share and talk to one another. Looking at our engineering and other work streams, our engineering, our data, our operations, and our IT blueprints in terms of future ready. Then looking at platform architecture, and others, what platform are we? Are we a commercial mall? Are we a big mall? Are we a small mall? Etc. Those type of principles need to be established so that they can integrate across all the countries and segments. And then looking at strategic partnerships, either more partnerships or commercial partnerships where we can go into partnership with retail or Amazon or big tech, etc., and provide services and experiences to our clients. Then there's a people stream, an ecosystem stream, which you've just heard about, and then the transformational change process, which also falls under us of change management. And I think you're also faced with a number of leaders and chief executives and board members who are either at the beginning of the spectrum of being digital or quite experienced in the digital world of what and how we should be. But we meet people where they're at and help them in terms of their own development and their personal development so they can lead the transformation in terms of what does it mean to be a mall, what does it mean to be a platform, what does it mean to have strategic partnerships, what does it mean to step into the lives of your clients, what's, how do APIs work, what, are SAND parts of the organization in terms of where people experiment. And traditionally financial services are not about failing, they're all about success, etc. So culturally it kind of works against innovation, but how do we change the culture to embrace the sandbox type thing of experimentation? And then we've aligned the measures across the organization and the forecasts and the planning so that we can embrace as a group the various parts, so that people start to feel that we're operating more as a group than all the individual silos. So thanks. I'll stop there, Patrick. Thanks very much.
We do thank you very much, Rod, since your presentation would deserve hours and hours. And I thank you for having summarized it in just a couple of words. We would like to ask you more about the different partnerships, etc. Just one quick one. I understood the need for consistency and the fact that the headquarters had to take the decisions for the rest of the company. But I think as well that sometime in a given geography, something very smart happens and pops up and that you are taking advantage of. Can you just give me one short example of this?
Yeah, so for instance, I'll give you an example of dealing with Mozambique yesterday. I was on a call with their innovation team, etc., who have come up with a great innovation in terms of commercial and business, which, and so my office and the role I play is like I'm an integrator. So if the go-to type person, people need a go-to place. if we've got an innovation, or if we've got something we want to share, or we've got something that our board wants, who's the conductor, let's say. So I kind of play that role of bringing the parties together. So in Mozambique, they've come up with a great innovation side and a commercial and business side. And so what I will do is integrate that together with our business and commercial segment and the lead there, and then bring in the innovation team and then our client solution team, and then they can then go on together. But what they have established is something that we can just adopt from Mozambique. We can use it for the group. It can be used in all the countries, etc. So there's an example, but that happens in Kenya, Namibia, it happens all over. What we do try and avoid is duplication, and that it's not happening and duplicated everywhere. And that's something in our architecture we are very stringent about decommissioning and avoiding duplication and delayering, etc.
Thank you very much, Rod. I feel I do not feel comfortable since I am the one responsible for having restricted the presentations to only 10 minutes. Lito Villanueva is the Executive Vice President and Chief Innovation and Inclusion Officer of Rizal Bank in the Philippines. And Lito is now going to take the floor. Lito, the floor is yours. And welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much, Patrick, and of course to the rest of our colleagues here from all parts of the world. Good day to everyone. So in various time zones. I think it would be very brief, because this, I think, is a very interesting topic to begin with about digital transformation. And I think we commend Efma and of course the people behind this in organizing such a community that is really, I think, at the core of the discussions right nowadays, especially given the pandemic. So in the case of RCBC, RCBC has been in business for 60 years. And of course, you know that for most traditional banks, the challenge has always been how do we now reinvent ourselves on how to be able to thrive and survive in not just during the pandemic, but as well as to be able to to compete with the fintechs of this world, right? So I think, of course, just to introduce myself as well briefly, I'm the Executive Vice President of RCBC and Chief Innovation and Inclusion Officer, and at the same time, concurrently as the Chief Digital Transformation Advisor for the conglomerate, for the Uchenga Group of companies. And I'm also wearing another hat as the founding chair of the Fintech Alliance.ph, which is the digital organization across all fintech players in the Philippines that generates over 90% of fintech-initiated transactions volume in the country today. So I have a full visibility of what's happening in the landscape right now. And for RCBC, as I've said, when I came in 2 years ago, because I came from the fintech world myself, I've been with Visa as well and with IFC of the World Bank Group. I've seen some of the the good and bad in terms of having to deploy digital interventions, but of course, no single size fits all in terms of having to deploy that to a particular market. So in the Philippines, for example, the challenge has always been how do you reinvent yourself? And when I came in 2 years ago, for one initiative to be approved or even to be evaluated and eventually approved and eventually have that launched to the market, it normally takes about 6 months to 12 months. And it goes normally to a process of vetting by 5 different board level committees. And surprisingly, that half of those, the commonality of the membership of those committees, half of them would be same members in those 5 committees. So I mean, just imagine the waste of time in terms of having to really be able to quickly deploy something to the market. So in my first 3 to 5 months in RCBC, the good thing there is that the champion of digitalization in RCBC is no less than the chairperson of the board, who happens to be the principal of RCBC, and of course the president and CEO. So what happened there was that she approved my recommendation to form the Digital Enterprise Committee wherein instead of having to practically short-circuiting the 5 committees, we now just have to have one committee. And she even offered that she will be the one to chair the digital committee. So because at the end of the day, digital transformation has to be sponsored by the top guns, right? I mean, the top honcho in the organization, of course, with the support of all the entire organization. So the thing here is that when we came up with the digital enterprise committee, I mean, we could easily and quickly deploy initiatives in a matter of less than a month in terms of having to roll out initiatives. And during the pandemic, actually that came even before the pandemic hit the Philippines. And it was very timely because during that time, before the pandemic, our plans were all set for 2020, and when the hard lockdown was declared in March 2020, practically all our plans made in October 2019 was practically thrown out of the window. So the thing here is that you really have digital transformation is about not just about technology or platforms. It's about mindset. It's about culture. It's about your drive towards making a dent or a change in the industry. So the thing here is that we were able to quickly come up with new initiatives that would best address the current situation in the Philippines. And we had over 20 enhancements or new features introduced in our digital platforms, because that time more than 50% of all branches in the Philippines were actually ordered to be closed. So people were forced to stay indoors, and people were also forced to go digital. So they had no choice but to go digital. If there's something positive that this COVID-19 brought about, was the acceleration of digitalization in all markets. In the Philippines, we have seen exponential growth of digital adoption, up to 4-digit jump insofar as transaction volume and value is concerned. And that is actually true for RCBC. That's why even it was also RCBC that was the first to be tapped by the national government to disburse the emergency cash subsidy under the social amelioration program of the government for 18 million poor and vulnerable families heavily impacted by COVID-19. I mean, even 2 months prior to the pandemic, we were at 71 out of 81 provinces in terms of deploying our mobile POS devices for agent banking, or what we call the branches banking. And at the height of the pandemic, in July 2021, we launched I think we are the only bank or the only organization that launched a new product in the middle of a crisis. So we launched a mobile app that is meant for the mass market. We call this Cartech. In less than 3 months, we were able to rank #1 in the Apple Play Store and Google Play in the App Store and Google Play Store, and having also to be the first local app to have reached more than 3 million mobile app downloads in less than 30 days. So at the height of the pandemic. And the good thing there is that, again, based on contextual banking strategy, RCBC is the only bank in the Philippines right now that has 2 mobile apps, one catering to the mass affluent and the other one is for the mass market. So because at the end of the day, we need to strategize in terms of having to capture the entire spectrum of the population, and was able to really provide the necessary support for all sectors to be able to capture that market. And with all the collaboration that we've done with our regulators, with the national government organization, with the national government agencies, NGOs, and the civil society, including having to empower our micro and small entrepreneurs, and also be able to roll out in partnership with the regulators the standard QRPH as a bank participant for massive interoperability of the national lethal payment system. Because at the end of the day, because remember, in the Philippines, just like in other emerging markets, we have 70% of the adult population to be part of to be unbanked or underserved. That's why we support the national government's advocacy in terms of having their bold vision and aim that this is called, it is within the framework of what we call the Digital Payments Transformation Roadmap, wherein they have a twin goals of one, to have 50% of financial transactions to be in the form of digital and 70% of the adult Filipinos to be part of the formal financial system by end of 2023. And just for information of everyone, I'm pleased to inform you that we will be able to hit those targets even before 2023. And thanks to thanks to the COVID-19, we were able to really scale digitalization across the population in the Philippines. And again, I welcome this initiative to be part of this community. Thank you so much, and good day to everyone.
Thank you very much, Lito. Maybe a quick one. You mentioned that you are the chairman of the FinTech Alliance of the Philippines. How has the world of fintechs and insurtechs allowed the banking industry to transform itself? Just in a nutshell, into 1 minute.
Well, open finance or open banking is the key word, is the key, key enabler here. So we work with each other, we cooperate with each other, and this is the era of what I call massive cooperation.
Thank you very much, Lito. Now it's Simon Valac. Simon is the Managing Director, Strategy and Digital Transformation at PKO Bank Polski. And Simon used to be a collaborator of the BCG, so the world is very small. Simon, you're going to tell us how you are transforming PKO BP, a very old institution, into a brand new digital challenger.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. And Patrick, thank you for having me here in this forum. I'm really privileged. So just a very brief, PKO is now over 100 years old bank, so quite old, at least for Polish standards. It's a bank with assets of around 90 billion euro, 11 million clients, mostly retail, and market cap around 11 billion euro. So for European terms, it's not a large bank, but it is the largest bank in Poland. And we are also a #1 player in every segment, business segment we operate here in Poland. But 10 years ago, this was not the case. I mean, PKO 10 years ago was a bank that would be characterized by paper, bureaucracy, massive back office, including back office in branches, poor commercial performance. And, you could buy many products provided that you go to a branch. And remote channels were only informative with very limited service capabilities. Today, PKO BP is at the core of digital leaders in Poland, is the most profitable bank in Poland, with a return on equity of 12% and cost to income at 38%, 38. In order to be where it is, PKO Bank Polski went through 3 stages of transformation. I mean, the first one, I would call it accelerated growth. It was mostly around redesigning customer value proposition, installing modern CRM, but at the same time, working on the architecture. So a lot of effort on service-oriented architecture, installing automated workflows, a capability to basically restructure our back offices and centralize many functions. But in the end, that all led us to be a data-driven organization. So we're able to use data in the way how we shape our business and our decisions. Also, that phase was focused on changing culture, installing new DNA. We call it commercial focus, and that was basically a huge success where we caught up on competitors. The second stage I would call closing gap on digital and customer experience. This was a period where we heavily invested in front-end digital systems. And I think important note I make here is we put specific emphasis on building that internal capabilities in that sphere. So rather than outsourcing the digital, we felt that this will be a competitive advantage to have own UX expertise, to have excellent architects for digital, And that was critical then to building the omni-channel processes and also omni-channel architecture where CRM, digital channels, and product processes all come together. This was also a moment where we started training the organization in design thinking and designing end-to-end customer journeys with a lot of attention to customer experience and making sure that these journeys end up with high net promoted score levels. And then the third stage, which we are currently in, I mean, we kicked off that in 2019. This is a stage which I call digital challenger. So it's a lot about expanding our ecosystems and focusing on beyond banking services and beyond banking products as a new source of revenue. It's about developing, we call it autonomous bank. So thanks to machine learning, AI capabilities, and also RPAs, we try to build smart digital operations where a lot of processes happen by themselves. But also bring that experience to front end where our customers can have a conversational mobile banking and make dispositions and close processes by voice. That also in this stage, we focus heavily on migration to cloud, both backend system and front end system, including mobile banking application, electronic banking. And that comes together with a lot of investments into microservices, API architecture, DevSecOps capabilities. And clearly, this was also time to install new ways of working. So we, for last couple of years, we've been heavily working on our new culture and bringing up Agile at scale across the bank. Now, there's probably a lot of things I would like to talk about, but there are probably four highlights I would like to mention, and they might be actually interesting to look at for some of you. First is our success around mobile banking. PKO is, of course, a large bank, but also in terms of mobile, we are the largest mobile bank in Central Eastern Europe. But what's more important is the constant growth we are having. So since 2017, we've been growing our mobile banking base by 1 million every single year. This year we'll reach 6 million mobile banking applications. But what makes us actually to stand out is the scale at which customer log in. So we have around 32 logins per customer per year, which is around 30% more than our regional peer benchmark. Also, the app has been named 3 times in the year best mobile banking app by Retail Bank International and several others audits. And we are averaging with the app score around 4.8 to sometimes 4.9 in Google and Apple Store respectively. So that's one hallmark. And as I mentioned, I mean, we are constantly working on bringing up, scaling up innovations, the chatbot capabilities in mobile banking is something that we currently focus on. Second highlight, and this one actually might be, Patrick, you might remember, this was something we've developed in payments ecosystems, and it's been named actually the Innovation of the Year by Efma, I think in 2015, if I recall. But that was an idea we've came up in 2012, 2013. We launched our mobile banking system, similar to the one you could see, you could remember from UK, where Barclays came up with Ping It. However, what we've done, we've taken that technology, we carve out it from the bank, form a JV, and invited 5 largest banks in Poland, our competitors, to work with us in developing a mobile payment standard in Poland. That joint venture has been highly successful. It is one of the example of what I call digital co-opetition. So we do compete with these banks on day-to-day basis, but when it comes to installing a standard how future payments should be done, we wanted to be partners. These days, customers using that system can make e-commerce transactions, can send money real-time P2P on mobile numbers, can withdraw money on ATMs, and as of next month, they will be able also to pay with the virtual card on terminals in contactless way. Just to give you one figure, two figures, it is 17 million users of that system. And this system accounts for 60% market share of all e-commerce transactions in Poland. 60. Third highlight I would make would be a building marketplaces. Back in 2019, we've also thought about entering the marketplaces, and we decided to go first into a car marketplace. Since we had the largest leasing company with large stock of used cars that we knew that were good cars, but we were reselling in a wholesale way historically. And we also had a lot of car dealers that were mentioning that it's becoming a problem for them to resell the car because the marketing costs they bear are quite high. So we've came up with an idea to actually take our stock of used cars from leasing company, help these dealers also to utilize their stock into a digital platform that we put together. We bundle that with our lending capabilities and also our captive insurance company. And last year, we've launched first banking car marketplace that is now scaling. It's hard to talk about figures, but it's a very promising newborn baby in the digital portfolio that we have. And final highlight I would make would be beyond banking revenues. Also, those couple years ago, when we recognized clearly that cloud banking will be the most transformative technology, and Poland has been a laggard in cloud technology. So we've decided to form with the Polish National Fund, a JV, in order to build Polish cloud operator. Next step was to convince the large players to come in, and we've managed to convince Google and Microsoft to become partners and open up a cloud regions here in Poland. That means direct investment from these two companies totaling $3 billion. They will build the infrastructure, and they will train also thousands of cloud engineers here in Poland to actually run the regions and also support the transformation of the Polish enterprises. Happy to say that not only we are using the cloud as a way to transform the bank, but we also turning this into a product. So if you are an SME client, you can already purchase a cloud products directly from our e-banking store, where this value-added services is being offered, and mid corporates will join soon. To just wrap up, I think when you think about digital transformation, what was important for us? I think it was, first of all, a very bold vision and acceptance for risk-taking, and then year over year, a very clear navigation toward North Star. So that was critical to make sure that we are on the right trajectory to reach the vision we designed for ourselves. Second was a focus, and I think focus for us means really what not to do, how not to get distracted. And I can tell you this was particularly difficult. When you have a lot of very ambitious managers, that can easily happen, that you start running too many things. So scaling down and focusing on what is really necessary was critical also to our transformation roadmap. I think maybe something you've heard many times, but I will underline it, that for us, transformation in the first place is around people, creating teams and creating culture for corporation, for scaling up capabilities, and for developing people. Technology is just a tool to get there, so don't get too much obsessed on it. And last but not least, if I could move back the time and do something different, probably I would be more radical on simplification and standardization than I was at that time. Thank you, Patrick, and back to you.
Well, thank you very much, Simon. In the team that is working for you, your direct, collaborators, would there be any profile that has nothing to do with banking or with technology? I mean, somebody coming from another world?
Obviously, yes, and we do hire people from retail, from ecosystems like e-commerce players, startups. That also, that is important part. But I would say even more importantly is how we develop ways for people to reskill internally and how to, let's say, bring them up to speed. And that includes people with skills that can be, let's say, that will be less needed in the future, like, for example, financial analysts and so on. And we've put actually an academy for data scientists, and for all of those willing to actually upgrade their skills and change their career path, we were making that possible. And I think that's extremely important for organization when you think about the shortages in top skills that you will have over the next years. But it also means that bringing people from sales branches, regional directors into product development roles, because they understand clients many times much better than some of the product managers that never worked in branches. And if you bring them the digital capabilities, they can be extremely client-centric and understand many details. And then last but not least, most of my effort with my team right now is for business people to understand technology. I think this is critical, that business people in tribes will be partners to their architects, to software developers. They will understand what's happening. And this was part of the journey that we also, got some support from BCG on that part when installing our Agile at scale. A big part of it was how to upscale our competences, both for non-technology people in technology, and then also for technological staff, how to become how to get future skills, mostly on cloud and cloud architecture.
Thank you very much, Simon. Very interesting.
Thank you.
Time is getting short, and I'd like to finish this series of presentations with my old friend Gurantham. We've been working together for years now. What should I say? You are from DenizBank, but not only from DenizBank, also from NeoHub, you tell us. And the title of your speech is "Come on, banks, enjoy your last minutes on stage."
Hi, Patrick. It's very pleasure for me to facing you in a digital environment. First of all, before starting, I like Poland too much, Simon. Poland is a very inspiring country in Europe, like Turkey. And what you did there guys, simply inspiring me as well. And the most inspiring product is the joint venture of payments stuff that you mentioned. It's very critical for everyone to being on the stage in future. So we should come together with all banks or other third parties if you want to go on the stage. Then let me talk about Turkey. Turkey is very in banking business, in banking sector, like Poland, a very innovative country. And in banking sector here in Turkey, we are doing very good job. And again, like Poland, inspiring everyone all over the world. Simply, if I talk with about DenizBank, in 2012, we have implemented SCDO role, first in town, first in country. And we diversified from the digital business from other business lines and start directly on transforming the business of or banking models or anything else, which is directly or indirectly related with digital stuff. What we simply did, we have produced many new channels like digital payments, like SME banking, like cloud banking, like ecosystem banking. Even we implement many mobile banking products, internet banking products here within the bank. Also, we set many KPIs on physical stuff. So we give directly KPIs to the branches, physical branches, and in balance sheet level to branches, we give some incentives with efforts on digital transformation. So what we did here, we have crowned or titled as most innovative bank of the world from Efma in 2015 and 14 and 16 from BAI. And what I'm really proud that Efma compete us in 2017 as a challenger bank with challenger banks. Even we are an established bank with 700 branches, but we got the silver title. So it's very proud for me. And number 26 has got gold medal over there. Like Simon did in Poland, we are trying to transform not only the bank, but also mindsets. So mindsets or business models is very critical here if you want to transform the digital business. But Patrick, now we are on a different stage in bank. So we set a special strategy, which is called digital diffusion. So we complete the transformation. So we are not anymore transforming anything. What we are simply trying to do, we will try to diffuse the digital strategy all entire the bank and all entire the customers. And we are aiming to close this business line in 3 years' time. So we will close CDR in 3 years' time. We are simply saying that if you do not think about digital first, you will lose guy to all business lines. So all other colleagues of my or all bankers of DenizBank, let's say. And with the help of pandemic, many things changed, but many things boost up. First, the mindsets, let's say, and according to this trend, we decided to create something new. That's why we decided to establish a separate company, which is called NeoHub. And we established this fintech company apart from the bank. So it's 100% subsidiary of the DenizBank, but it is not a bank. It's apart from all regulatory, all legislation, banking regulatories and so on. And it's a separate sister company. And it is not a only technology company. It has a technology muscle within the company. So producing technology, even selling it to other banks or other third parties, but it's not a technology company. It's not a bank, let's say. But we implement this company with bankers, with technology guys, and with young people having 20 or 25 ages with them. So we will try to transform or change the business model of banking business in 3 or 5 years' time. So what we will try to do simply, we will try to build up or create new business models with others. Others here means not only banks, but also other sector verticals. And within the strategy of NeoHub company, we have 4 main verticals. The first one is digital currency, fintech, and neobanking vertical. In this vertical, at the end of the journey of this vertical, we will implement a neobank, having no branches, and we will implement some banking as a service or fintech as a service or wallet as a service services to the sector, not only banks, but also other fintechs as well. And we are on the way of creating our digital currency with the help of our e-money company, FastPay e-money company. We will boost up this digital currency business with this vertical. The second vertical is ecosystem and API collaborations. Here, we are on the way of now creating a new super app. So we will implement a new application, a super app application, but it's not a banking application or even a financial application. It will be a real super app. So every startup, every fintech or other big verticals or sectors will come here to serve the end customer with many kinds of needs, they say, needs of customers. Then the third vertical is innovation and venture capital fund parts. These innovation parts, we have implemented the innovation center, acceleration center, and incubation center, which is called Deniz Aquarium. And in this physical area, we are on the way of incubate, accelerate the startups. And with the help of venture capital funds, which is called Deniz Ventures, we are now investing on startups for capital gain and boost up to create new unicorns in 2 years' time, Turkey generated 4 unicorns within the country. So we are aiming to create one financial unicorn in this vertical. Hopefully, we will achieve this. And also, I'm the executive board member of this fund, venture capital fund, and executive board member of Fastpay Evolve company in the same time, when acting as a general manager and CEO of NeoUp as a simultaneous vision. And the fourth vertical is the API collaboration. API collaboration is, how can I say, we are responsible from selling and platforming banking APIs to the sector. So we are taking Denizbank APIs and we will take other banks' APIs together, and we will try to create a new API collaboration platform, not only for open banking, but also for other services, because we will take APIs from other sectors, like telecom operators or other some kind of services, and we will try to serve this platform with many APIs inside. I think this is enough, Patrick, because we are out of time, as I see. So we are here for boosting financial sector within a new approach, within a different mindset. But we are not competing with banks. We are trying to make them survive in the future. This is a simple vision of this company.
A very refreshing presentation, Guhan. I really thank you very much for this. As you say, we are running out of time, but what I like to mention is that, first of all, the presentations and the recording of the session will be made available on our website. You will have the link. Second, you will also have the link to the different presentations of the BCG Observatory of Digital Transformation and the previous presentations. Third, very important, I have asked a couple of community members to answer a few questions, and these interviews will be published on our website. Currently, we already have 5 interviews that have been made and that are going to be published. And last but not least, we will publish very soon online the questions for the next Digital Transformation Observatory, whose results should be presented during the meeting that we will have on October 7th. So please refer to the website. You'll see all the content that you can access. You'll see all the colleagues, all the other members that are listed. And you'll see also the dates of the upcoming meetings. Do not hesitate to reach out to me, patrick@efma.com, for any question. I'd be more than happy. And I really congratulate all the speakers, all the panelists today for the hard job they've done to concentrate in only 10 minutes their presentation. Thanks to all of you. See you soon. October 7th, the next one. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick.
Bye-bye.
Congratulations on inauguration.
Pleasure.